Hello everyone and welcome to Moonride, where we're channeling the man in the moon. Today I'm going to take a look at the various assaults on Roe v. Wade and see where we're going to go with that particular subject. I'd also like to mention Christine Blasey Ford and send out a big thanks to her. It's my opinion that we would not be where we are with a House of Representatives largely dominated by Democrats who are being fairly assertive in restricting the president's more horrible abuses. I do not think that we would be there if it hadn't been for her testimony. So I want to send out a big thank you and hope that everybody remembers that one person can make a huge difference in our society. Okay, so Spirit, what about Roe v. Wade? Can you tell me what will happen? Maybe we can start out with Louisiana. One thing that I'm getting is a large green table, and you might think of the Knights of the Round Table, but this table is really, really, really big, and it's really, really round. There's lots of people sitting at it. I noticed that it's men and women, but there's a lot of women there, and women of all different kinds, stripes, every color, every race is there. And I see connections across this table, and there's a sort of big empty space, but there's a connection across that empty space to people. And I just get the feeling that one thing that is perhaps good about the assaults on Roe v. Wade is that it's joining a lot of people together. People might have had strong opinions before, but now they're making connections and they're willing to go a little bit further and perhaps compromise and say, well, I don't agree with this person about everything, but I do agree with this one topic. I would really encourage you, you might find that there are some fairly conservative people, but they still believe in choice. It is my experience that that is the case. And maybe it's possible to go beyond the politics of Trump or anything else and just stay on this particular topic. I just also feel that it's really a uniting force. It's really a way that lots of people will go a little bit further because they believe that their rights are under threat. And again, I see men and women here, but I really feel like women are stepping up. And part of that just means, the feminine, if you will. And that can be, a man or a woman's purview. But it's just a sort of greater feeling of, women and are more often in relationships, good relationship with things. And there are plenty of men who do that too. But it's a sort of distilled version. Sometimes women are not just necessarily women, they're also a whole feminine aspect. And I really feel this is a very dynamic play that's going on. And again, you might notice that AOC and Nancy Pelosi aren't necessarily on the same page with impeachment, but these two ideas can exist at the same time in the same field and not detract from one another. And I think that that's a little bit of a better system for Democrats. There's not such a purity test anymore because we just don't have time for this kind of perfect symbiotic relationship. So, sometimes things are you have to agree to disagree about some topics because what's ahead of you is so important. And I really feel very strongly that this is working out well. I think that this was a mistake on the Republican, conservative, anti-abortion front. They have created such an enormous problem. I mean, they're essentially saying if you're raped and you're 11 years old, you have to bear the baby of your rapist. Not many people believe that's true. There may be some people, I have never met them in my life, but even conservatives don't necessarily think that that is ideal. They think that, maybe they're not really for it and they don't want to support it per se, but I also meet many libertarians who don't believe this at all. So remember that this might in some sense have a silver lining. We will become more active because it has become more important. It will affect our lives so directly if people don't have this right. Yeah, it's causing people to be a bit more assertive. Like I see a guy on a horse, and he's like a firebrand, and he's like, we got to do this now. He's also kind of got a bomb in his hand. I'm not suggesting anybody bomb anyone, but this is like, like a radical revolutionary type deal where, in a sense, it's everybody is going to be moving a little bit more towards the left because we have to stand in opposition to the right. So what about the Supreme Court? Now, one thing that I consistently see when I look at the Supreme Court is Kavanaugh. And he's got this gavel in his hand, and he's just banging and banging and banging away. And he just looks very frustrated. It's almost like he wants to be the only judge. Now he's got to negotiate with these 9 people, which is kind of a reflection of us. And they're not so keen on turning over hundreds of years of precedent. I think they're a little bit more aware of the political consequences of what that might mean. And they're a little bit more considering their own legacies. What will people think of them in 100 years? That's something that they're a little bit more aware of. They don't want to be perceived necessarily as just the Republican Supreme Court. That's not everybody's objective. Kavanaugh couldn't care less what people think. But the Chief Justice Roberts, he's a bit more tempered, and he doesn't want to be seen merely as a political operative. He cares a little bit more about the law. I also feel like he's a little bit ashamed that he realizes that Citizens United was a disaster, that it's led to the situation that we have right now, and he's a little bit more concerned than the others that this is his court. It is a reflection of him. The chaos that we are experiencing right now is directly a reflection of him, and he knows it. And so he's been a bit chastised in my vision, and I don't feel like he's going to back this stuff up. Now, it's kind of like a sculptor. They're chipping away at it. They're trying to chip away at Roe v. Wade a little bit. They might have a little bit of success, but I see somebody chipping away a big old chunk of it, and there's a huge reaction. So they don't want to go that route because they know the reaction against it will be strong. And then, the balance of the Supreme Court might not. It might change. They're not going to go for a big, huge change. It would not be. The Supreme Court is a long-term thing. That would be a short-term thing. In 10 years, the court changes, then everything can change back. And that's not what they want. They want to be somewhat law-based. I do see the Supreme Court in distress. So I literally see the pillars of the court, and it's kind of like things are cracking, and it's almost like there's an earthquake, and one of the pillars has come down. Actually, I see one of the pillars crashing, but the Supreme Court itself, 3 of the pillars, the building itself is cracked. It has problems. It needs to be repaired, but it is still standing. I'm interested about this pillar that just fell. Yeah, the pillar is Trump. I mean, that aspect of the Supreme Court really, in a sense, the fact that, they've been appointed by Trump and all the Republicans are sort of working together to bypass the Constitution, that's a concern that even they recognize. They understand in some sense that this country is in danger. And so they're kind of going to have to rebuild this pillar. I think that in the future, going forward, there will be changes in the way we do business, maybe even changes to the Constitution because our democracy is under threat. But I do not see that building falling. And when I think about Roe v. Wade, I do see that one pillar down. But is that Roe v. Wade or is that just Trump? I think it's just Trump. Again, the building stands. In regard to the pillar or not, I would say that for the most part, Roe v. Wade will stand. There will be some problems with it. There will be some attacks upon it. But again, these might be good things. They might just strengthen the resolve of the American people. and they will call attention to the real consequences of having this particular Supreme Court and electing a president. Some of these things are consequences, and we must experience the consequences of wrong action so that we can do the right thing the next time. And it can be incredibly stressful. If you know what's going to happen, you know how bad this is going to be, and you're watching it, it's like watching a train like in slow motion. But remember, since that's the way that some people are going to learn, that's the only way some people will learn. So, and also it's good for us. We're going to have to work harder. We're going to have to work together. We're going to have to cross some boundaries and say, okay, let's forget about everything else and let's just focus on this right now. Yeah, I don't agree with you about that. We'll just agree to disagree. This is too important for us to bicker. And I keep seeing this image, which is very interesting. The polar ice caps are melting, and I see them like rejuvenating, like kind of coming back. And I wonder if that ultimately means that everything will come back, the rights will come back. This will be a time of great stress, and we'll have to be working hard to solve some of these problems. But I see that North Pole ice is coming back. I feel like this is a symbolic in relationship to the question that I asked. So I think that it might there might be an assault, there might be some chipping away at it, but ultimately it's almost like it will be re-verified. This Roe v. Wade will sort of be again stated as the law of the land, if only because of our protest and reaction to it. Remember, there are 9 people there who are watching, and the way that we handle this, the way that we approach it, the way that we act is somewhat important. They do have to understand that they are representing us, even though they were appointed by President and the Senate. Okay, one more time. Roe v. Wade, will it stand? Yes. Okay, Spirit is standing in front of me. He's looking serious. He's holding the Constitution in his hand. All right. So, thanks for watching.